Hi, I'm Rebecca from Yoga Within, here to share with you a 45-minute deep hip release yin practice. So this is going to be really juicy. If at any time being on your knees isn't comfortable for you, you can do many of these postures on your back with the load off of many of your joints. So we'll give lots of modification today. It's also really nice to have some props available. I highly recommend just a blanket that you can fold up to different heights for sure. If you have a bolster, it's really nice to have one. If you don't have one, then that's perfect too. A pillow will work really nicely as well. Just something to help give you some height. And the blanket can also just replace a bolster as well. And then you may or may not want to use a foam block or a wood block or a book that has a little bit of width and depth to it. So, and if you don't have any of those props, then it's just fine as well. And you can just use your body creatively to help you fall into the postures in whatever way is going to work best for you today. If you do have any injury, please consult with your doctor before proceeding with this class. Yin is not designed to help heal injury. It is designed to help move us deeper into our yoga practice, into our opening of our hips, our joints, our connective tissue. So if you do have any injury, please just hold off on this practice today. So we'll start with just a simple centering. Let's just start sitting up so we can begin to connect with the hips on the ground, nice and steady, feeling the hips rooted into the floor. Take a moment to just find some movement on the seat so that you can really feel the sit bones rooted into the ground. And then just notice how your legs are. So have you crossed your legs today? Are they out straight in front of you? And take a moment to just change that into a posture that is not your normal sitting posture. So if the right leg is in front of the left or the left in front of the right, take a moment to change that. And if the legs are stretched out, maybe you widen them or bring them a little bit closer together. Try something that's a little bit different than what you might normally do. Okay, and then begin again to just find a little bit of structure and connection with the seat and the ground. Close the eyes if it feels good, or lower the gaze. And just begin to notice the breath. As you begin to notice the breath, just see if you can continue to also notice the seat, noticing everything that is connected to the floor. Let the breath move in freely, not trying to change it, but perhaps invite it to soften and lengthen. And with every breath out, becoming more and more present, more and more in your body, in this space, here for your practice today. If the eyes are closed, you can gently bat them open. We're just going to start with some gentle hip circles. So if the legs are straight out, you can cross them if that feels okay for you. And then begin to just find some gentle movement from side to side. Now this hip circle motion, I would like it to really focus on our seat, on our root. So as you move, see if you can stay connected with each sit bone on the ground. As you move one direction, the opposite sit bone may want to lift. So see if you can keep that connection with the sit bones on the floor. So just starting to warm up the hips a bit before we get into our longer held postures. We're going to hold some of these postures for 1 minute to 3 minutes today. Feel free to pause the video at any time if you'd like to have a longer yin practice, holding the postures perhaps 5-7 minutes or longer. So if you haven't already changed directions, making sure that you're doing that now. And again, really noticing those sit bones on the ground as you move from side to side. And just checking in with the hips and the seat. Noticing if you can keep that relationship with the seat and the floor. And coming back to center, I'm going to pick up the right foot and the right leg. You can keep that left leg bent if you like, or you can stretch it out, completely dependent on your body and what you'd like to do. We just want to start to find some movement in through that left hip. And trying to bring the leg parallel, the lower leg parallel to the floor, but that might not be the case for you today. So just start to find what your range of motion is, okay? See how the hip is moving, ball and socket in that hip joint. Little bit of side to side movement. And then perhaps some circles, so drawing the leg higher up and then back down. Most of us have some snags in our joints. So if you notice that crunching or a little bit of resistance, tightness, know that that's normal. If you start to move into pain, then you know that you've gone beyond your edge. And that is a sign for you to come back. Especially practicing at home, we need to be very mindful of how we are moving. And we are our best teacher and really our only teacher when we are practicing at home, in our home practice. Good. One more side to side sway with the hip. And then we'll place that leg down and we'll switch legs. So working in through the left leg now. Again, straightening out that right foot if you like, or keeping it bent, totally up to you. And just start with noticing first if that shin is parallel to the ceiling, and if not, how that hip is moving ball and socket. And then finding that nice sway side to side, releasing expectation that this side will feel different or the same as the other. Just falling into the place of the noticing. And working with the body as if it was the first time every time you come to your mat. Being curious with the body. Changing that movement into big circles. And then moving the other direction. Good, and then releasing that leg down. The first posture we will take is Baddha konasana. Feet together and knees apart. Now this may be where you want to prop up underneath your knees. If you have 2 blocks or books, those are great options. If you have 2 blankets or a blanket and a pillow, you can prop up under both knees or either knee if you need. Okay, so don't be afraid to bring the floor up to you. We do want to find that edge though, where we start to feel a really nice juicy opening in the hips. But making sure that we're not moving that edge over the cliff into a place of pain. So really listen to your own body. So the foot soles draw together, and then we will begin to draw them back toward the pelvis as far as they are able to move. And then take a moment just to wiggle from side to side. Draw those fleshy bits out from under the seat, and then really find those sit bones rooted into the floor again. Okay, so take a moment here to find length in the spine. Okay, so not collapsing in the heart and upper chest. Nice open spine here. And then if you like, you can start to connect with the arches of the feet and start to invite the foot soles to open. And this may also feel far away off from the way your body wants to move. And it's just the practicing and the exploration that is your yoga, really. So take a moment to maybe give the feet a gentle massage here. And as you start to open or invite the feet to open toward the sky, the hips then begin to open as well. So as a natural result of the feet opening, the hips start to relax a little more. And then you can stay here if you like, continuing just to perhaps give the feet a little love if they need them today. Or you can just decide how open you'd like the feet. With a nice straight spine and heart forward, begin to gently forward fold. And you may only be able to go a little way, the elbows bend. See if you can keep the elbows tucked in a little closer to the body. Or perhaps you're feeling a little more open and you'd like to take your bolster or prop, set it in front of you, and find your way down onto the bolster. Perhaps you don't need any props at all, and you're feeling really open and you'd like to go all the way down to the floor, and that's also just fine. So we're just starting to get into the inner hips here, finding the breath. We've already been here for a few minutes. We'll hold it for one more minute here in Baddha konasana. So connect just with that soft, lengthened breath, not forcing the softening or the lengthening, but really focusing on the idea of inviting the softening and the lengthening in the breath. And as we invite the softening and lengthening in the breath, we begin to soften and lengthen in the body as well. You can let the chin drop here if you like. Find a little bit of movement in the neck just to make sure that the tension hasn't dispersed up the body and you're starting to feel or carry it in different parts of the body. And we will come out of this nice and slow, so just gently placing your hands down on the ground, slowly bringing yourself back up. If you have any props, just moving them off to the side. You can bring your hands to the knees and gently encourage the knees to come back together. Foot soles can be on the floor. And just walk the feet out slightly. Hands can come behind the back and let the knees float from side to side or windshield wiper from side to side. To release anything that has crept up during the first posture. The next shape we're going to take is a seated figure 4. You may want to lean up against a wall for this one, or you may not, completely up to you. You may also want to have a bolster or that pillow, something bigger underneath your knees, or you may also not. Okay, we can do this with either or both of those props, the wall or the bolster. We will start by straightening out the left leg. I'm going to turn to the side so you can see a little more clearly. Straighten that left leg out long, and then take that right foot and place it on top of the left thigh. And then that right knee begins to open, the hip begins to open. Just take that right hand and support that right knee for the time being. For some people, this may be enough. Take a moment to adjust through the sit bones again. If we want to go a little bit further, we can begin to explore. So without tilting too far back, drawing the knee up toward the ceiling, the left knee up toward the ceiling, and placing the left foot sole on the floor. Okay. Keep that right foot flexed to protect the right knee, and you're still using your right hand to hold on to that right knee. You can stay here, or perhaps you take the bolster and slide it underneath the knee. Okay. That right knee works to move away from you. Okay? So you're using the left thigh to draw the right foot and the right leg closer toward you, but at the same time, that right knee is opening away from you. So in a figure four or a thread the needle. You'd like to go a little bit deeper yet. Remove the prop and continue to bend that knee, bringing that left foot closer to you. And at this point, you may want to draw the hands underneath that left thigh. Okay, keeping that right foot bent and that right knee moving away from you. We'll gently begin to fold toward that left foot. And now just notice the alignment of the left ankle and the left knee and the left hip. Find your breath here. That right knee continues to open up away from you. And here we start to get a little deeper into that hip joint. If you haven't worked the hips for a while, you may feel a little bit tender tomorrow. But just know that that means that change is happening in the body. So we'll hold this just for another minute. Find or invite that soft and lengthening breath once more. You can play, if you like, with lifting the toes of the right foot. The more that right foot, the right toes, and the right leg, that's the left leg, move toward you, the deeper the opening in that right hip is going to be. And then you can slowly begin to straighten that left leg again, letting that right hip draw back down, right knee draw back down. And then straighten both legs out. Tap into the back of the legs. And we'll move on to the other side. So this time, right leg is straight. The left leg comes, foot flexed, foot rests. Left foot rests on right thigh. And left knee opens up out to the side. Okay, you can take that left hand and hold on to that left knee just to give it a little bit of extra support. Remembering you can stay here, or you can find a gentle bend in the knee. Okay. Remembering to bring your heart back up toward the front of the mat once you adjust the leg. The foot sole can rest on the floor, and maybe you just want to play with that little bit of flexibility in the ankle here. Maybe you want to stick a bolster underneath that right knee. Or maybe you would like to walk that right foot back even a little bit further, so that now you can take the arms and wind them underneath that right leg, holding on to the hands, the wrists, or the forearms. Here, keeping that left foot flexed. Encouraging that left knee to move away from you. We can continue to walk that right foot closer to us, ensuring that we're not falling backwards, right? So walk that right foot closer to you, only to the point where you can still keep an upright spine. Good. And then just notice the alignment of the hip, the knee, and the ankle of the right leg. Okay, if the ankle is splayed way out to the side, walk it back so that the hip, the knee, and the ankle are somewhat in alignment. The more that you fold forward or the more that you start to pick up those front toes, the deeper this will feel as well. And then you can begin to just fold forward over that front leg if you like, just gently. This may not even be a noticeable forward fold, but the action is from the hips. Again, inviting that soft, lengthening breath. Imagining the body softening and lengthening as we soften and lengthen the breath. Remembering that you can stop and pause, stay longer at any point if you like. Starting to walk that right foot back out, straightening it back along the mat, letting that left leg come down, using the hand to help release that left leg, straightening the legs, and just letting the legs windshield from side to side, rolling over those hip joints, giving them, or the sit joints, giving them a little bit of gentle massage. And next we will take a fire log. And if a fire log isn't something that feels good for you, because we're going to go a little bit deeper, you can repeat this same posture that we just did, which is a really half fire log to begin with. Would be right leg resting on the left leg, just above the knee on the thigh. So this may be where you want to stay, propping up underneath that right knee. Okay. Otherwise, we can bend. So this is where we were from our figure 4. Start to stack the legs so that the right foot rests on the left knee and the left foot rests underneath of that right knee. Okay. You may want to have a blanket just to give yourself a little bit of padding or help to elevate that top leg. If you're finding that you're shifting over to one side, elevate the side that you're shifting over toward to bring it up as well. Keeping both feet flexed. Start to find the breath once more. Good, and then stay here or begin again to fold forward, deepening through the hips. And here, your experience will be different if you keep the heart forward or if you collapse down, rounding the back, coming onto your forearms. You can interlace the hands if you like. Okay. And as we sit here in our fire log, it is very easy for the body to try and hold on. So bring the breath and the attention into those deep hip joints. And just notice how tightly you are hanging on to the tension. And as you soften with the breath, soften and lengthen the breath, feel the softening, invite the softening and lengthening in the body. Breath by breath, the hips start to unwind. We'll hold this for just one more minute. Again, feel free to find some movement in the neck. Maybe the chin wants to drop down. Knowing that if you're still up on the fingertips here, finding just a light forward fold, then that is also perfect for you too. Sometimes just resting with the hands on the knee and the foot with the spine upright is also just enough. Or perhaps you would like to move in and out of all of those variations. We will begin to unwind slowly. I encourage you to bring the hands behind you and gently release the top leg from the bottom leg. Good. And then again, let the knees sway from side to side. Good. This time, that right leg will be underneath and the left will be on top. Pretty sure that's how we did it last time. That's the opposite. And if that's not the opposite, do it the opposite way. Feels the opposite in my body. So again, stay here. Or you can begin to forward fold. Again, listening to your own body. Maybe you're just hands on the knee and foot, or you start to walk the fingers forward. Maybe you come down onto the forearms. Maybe you're giggling because I chose the same side as the last time because I'm still not even sure. Whatever side you've chosen, that's obviously the side that you need to open today. Find the breath, let the neck be long. Maybe you let the chin drop. Inviting the softening and the lengthening. Bringing the attention to the tension. Noticing how hard you're holding on. Inviting the softening and the lengthening, just breath by breath. Remembering that at any time you can come up or lower yourself down depending on what variation of this forward fold or what depth of forward fold you're choosing to be in today. Knowing that at each variation, we're going to start to feel into different parts of that hip socket. If you're all the way upright, maybe some gentle shoulder rolls. Take a few more breaths. If you are all the way down, gently bring yourself back up, moving nice and slow, bringing the hands behind or beside you, and one leg at a time, gently unfolding. Letting the knees move from side to side again. Maybe you're starting to notice that windshield wiper side to side movement is starting to feel a little different after a few releases. Then we're going to come over onto our hands and knees for our child's pose. And if child's pose is a posture that you practice often, you probably know which variation feels best for you and which one you love the most, what props you need as well. If you're not quite sure, start in tabletop and start to walk the knees away from each other out to the side and bring the foot soles together. It is often nice to have a prop in front of you, okay, to lie down onto. It's also not necessary. You can also have a blanket in between the upper back thighs and the heels. As you start to fold yourself forward, finding a really nice deep opening in the hips. Those knees can continue to open up out to the side to whatever depth feels best for you. And you can fold over that bolster or your pillow, or you can simply let the heart float down toward the floor. You can cross one hand over the other and rest your forehead on your hands, or you can stretch those arms forward, walking the fingers away from you. This will get into the shoulders a little deeper. So you decide what depth you need as we hold here for the next few minutes. Perhaps you want to draw one ear to the mat to give the neck a little bit of yin as well. If you do this, just make sure that you allow the other ear to come down to the mat as well, partway through. Again, inviting the lengthening and the softening into those hips with the breath. Again, noticing any tension by bringing your attention there. And the more you draw your attention there, the more the breath will begin to continue to do its work. And slowly, breath by breath, we unwind and unfold. If your gaze has been off to one side and you haven't changed it already, do that now. We'll be in our child's for about one more minute. If your gaze is turned to one side, draw it back so that the forehead is again facing the floor. Begin to walk the hands under the shoulders and gently start to bring yourself up. Okay. You can here remove any props if you're using them. And you have two choices to get into our next posture. You can take a downward dog to just walk out the hips, or stay in tabletop and take a few cat-cows. Okay, drawing the pelvis up. And then allowing all the air to move out of the body as you draw the heart up toward the ceiling. Okay, so whether you're in downward dog or tabletop, just take a few breaths there. If you're in downward dog, you're going to slowly bring the right foot forward. If you're in tabletop with knees down, you're also bringing the right foot forward. Okay. If you need to or want to pad underneath that back knee, okay, with a blanket, we're going to walk that right foot forward and walk that left foot back. You want weight on that back foot so it's not all on the back knee. So either you're pressing through the top of the back foot, or toes are tucked and you're pressing through the toes. So either is an option. I'm going to start by drawing ourselves up into a high dragon. stacking the knee over top of the ankle. If you have a block or a book, you may want to have that underneath you for a little bit of support here. Okay? Otherwise, if you're cool with it, you can be cool and not do this. Bring the hand up toward that top thigh. Press down equally through that front foot and through the back. Draw the right hip back and the left thigh forward. Okay, we'll be here for about another 30 seconds. Equal weight on the front and back foot, really feeling deep into those hips. You may also be feeling this deep into the thighs. Great. And then you can stay here if you like, or we're going to go a little bit deeper by slowly beginning to walk that right foot out to the side. Coming onto our hands, or perhaps you have that block in front of you horizontally. You can drop down onto the forearms or remove the block completely and come with the forearms all the way down to the ground. Hands can interlace. You can begin to roll onto the outside of that right foot if you like, as that right knee begins to open up to the side. If that's way too intense and just not happening, you can also come onto the back and imagine this shape on the back, okay, in a half happy baby shape. So where that right leg, right knee would draw down toward the outside edge of the right side of the body, and that right foot would be parallel. So think creatively in any yoga practice. If a shape feels too intense for you, how could you flip that around to take some of the weight off the joints? And could that be a little bit more accessible for you? Good. And then from here, you can stay here, or we'll go into our swan, where we're walking that right foot over toward the left wrist or the left hip or somewhere in between. Not going to be super worried about alignment here, but if you're really falling over, you can prop up underneath that right glute, okay, with a block or blanket. And then you can stay here with the fingertips or hands supporting you as long as you're drawing the ears away from the shoulders. Or you can begin to deepen more by dropping back down onto your forearms. Continuing to walk that back leg away from you. Maybe the foot wiggles away from you even just a little bit more. And we'll just be here for one more minute again, pausing the video and staying in these postures for longer if you would like a longer yin practice today. Again, really important here to notice how tightly you're holding on in the hips and inviting a lengthening and softening of that breath. And if you're on your back, this is more of that figure 4 shape that can be done to give you that same opening in the hips. So that posture that we did at the beginning of class. We'll start to walk ourselves back up, coming out of this posture slowly, removing any props that you have nearby. Coming back either into your tabletop or taking a downward dog in between. And then bringing the right foot forward. Left knee drops, maybe perhaps onto your blanket. Walk that left foot forward. And you can stay here if you're really feeling tight. Okay, just playing with a little bit of movement. Or draw yourself up into that low lunge or half dragon where the knee is stuck over top of the ankle. And then again, there is weight in that back foot. So you're either pressing down on the top of the back foot or the toes are tucked and you're pressing through the toes. Finding the breath here. Again, that lengthening, softening, smiling. And then stay here, or we'll go a little bit deeper by bringing the hands down to the mat, walking that left foot out a little bit more out to the side, staying here, or starting to drop down onto a block or a bolster or whatever it is that you have onto your forearms. Or maybe you don't use any props and you come all the way down. You can start to open up onto the outer edge of that left foot and allow that left knee to begin to open up out to the side. So know your range. This posture is going to look different for everyone. Again, making sure that there's still weight in that back leg, in the back foot, so that all the pressure is not on the knee. Good, and then you can stay here if you like, or if you like to go into our swan, start to walk that left foot over toward the right wrist, or the right hip, or somewhere in between. Everyone's range is going to be different there. Everyone's swan is going to look different. In Hatha, this is the pigeon. Different names for different practices. Again, using your block if you would like, or folded up blanket underneath that left sit bone. And then again, making sure that there's not too much pressure on that back knee. Staying up on the hands here, or beginning to fold down onto the forearms, or folding all the way down onto the floor. You can also have a bolster here to relax onto. And again, if you're on your back, this is that figure 4 that we did in the beginning of class seated, but you can do this on your back. So allowing that left knee to open. Again, a lengthening and softening breath. Remembering you can stay here for longer if you like. To come out, pressing up through the hands. Tucking those back toes. Walking back either into your tabletop or taking one last downward dog. I do encourage you to come down onto your backs, prop up underneath your knees. If you like or need, make sure that there's something to support the neck if you like. Just take a moment to breathe in deeply and exhale completely, softening every part of the body. Make sure you let the feet fly open from the hips, just splay open. Allow the hips to relax completely. Allow the back to relax completely. Find the breath. Lengthening and softening the breath once more. Stay in your Shavasana as long as you like. Thank you for practicing with me today, giving your hips the love that they need and deserve. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Namaste. Like this video if you enjoyed the practice, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't already.